Hello everybody, welcome back to another Borderlands 2 video. Today we are continuing the series of every com for every character for Maya, and I am running the Chaotic Neutral Cleric class mod from the Tiny Tina DLC. We've only got a few left and then we'll be moving on to the next character. But yeah, so taking a look at the gear, we have the Emperor. Social slow hand, normally I would want the practicable, but in the UCP, the slow hand has guaranteed ×3 projectiles, whereas in the normal game, that is obviously not guaranteed. So if you're playing on vanilla, you want the practicable instead of the social. But the social gives a generalist buff to the weapon. It kind of just buffs everything. So I thought that would be a nice alternative since we don't need practicable. And then we have the Lyuda and the Bada Boom for a fight for your life weapon. Blockade for our shield and survivability. The chaotic neutral variant of the comm. I chose this one because I think magazine size and fire rate is a really nice buff. And I picked the specific variant that gives +5 to suspension because +5 to restoration and life tap is not nearly as good as suspension. Suspension gets more value. So yeah, that's what we did. And then we have the longbow quasar, good mobbing grenade, and a firebone of the ancients. As for the build, pretty standard. I won't go into too much detail here, but flicker and foresight. I mean, I don't think I've ever really done, well, not ever, but for the most part, I keep the Cataclysm tree the most static out of all of the trees for Maya, unless the exception is if I'm using a comm that boosts Helios. That's about it. That's the only time I really switch things up. If I don't have a comm that boosts Helios, then I'm probably not going to get it because it's just not worth it to me. But generally speaking, like, this is how I spec the right tree almost every time with Maya, and I believe these are the best skills on the right tree. Again, unless you're using a comm that, specifically boosts Helios, or maybe you're doing a weird melee build where you have backdraft, or if you just like Phoenix. But I think these are the best skills in this tree and the best way to get down to Ruin. So this is how I do it. So yeah, elemental damage, DPS buff here, nice for fight for your life, very nice DPS buff, Cloud Kill's great, Reaper is another DPS buff, and of course Ruin. Ruin. Over here, so I maxed Sweet Release. I love this skill. It's great sustain. I threw a value point into Restoration because it gets boosted. This skill is going to give you more bang for your buck in co-op because you can shoot your teammates and heal them quite a lot. But the 15% max health certainly doesn't hurt. And then Wreck is a great skill for our DPS. Elated always helps for survivability. Res for that extra fight for your lifetime. This is unnecessary if you're playing solo in the vanilla game, but in the UCP it gives fight for your lifetime, so I usually take it. It's obviously very worth it in co-op though too. Sustenance. Um, my skill tree might seem a little weird here, but I just threw points into sustenance, life tap, and mind's eye to make sure I could get scorn. But we get life tap boosted by 4 with this comp, so I see no reason to take more than a point. I mean, you could literally throw a point into life tap without having a comm, and it would still be good. This is like one of my favorite value skills in the game. It just does so much for like 1 or 2 points. It's so much sustain, so much healing, because you deal so much damage. Like 6% of well over a million damage is quite a lot. And then sustenance is just a nice little keep us topped off. And I typically like Scorn for the extra slagging ability, so I don't have to use a slag weapon. Over here we have Ward for survivability. We definitely made sure to max suspension because it gets buffed by our comm, but I would have maxed it anyway. 5 extra seconds of phase lock is excellent. Value point into kinetic reflection for that 100% deflection chance. And a little bit of extra bullet damage and reduction to the enemy. Converge for crowd control. And inertia for a nice DPS and survivability buff. And lastly, we have quicken for more uptime on phase lock. So yeah, guys, here's the build. And we'll go ahead and shift it on over to the gameplay. Alright, and we are back. Here is the gear and the build. And I will say that this magazine size in conjunction with Foresight is actually pretty massive. If we look here, the Bada Boom has a magazine size of 10. Let's see what it is now. 17 with this comm, plus the skill itself. Lyuda, 27, all the way up to 48. Like, That's very good, and we have fire rate with it, and Maya has reload speed skills. So like, I haven't even used this comm before, but I can already tell you I think this comm is probably going to be good, and I think maybe even underrated. Like, the Tiny Tina DLC comms are generally quite good, and like literally the deciding factor for most of them is because of what they like, not the skills they buff, but the stats that they buff. Like magazine size and fire rate is excellent. That's an awesome buff to have. So anyway, let's go ahead and test it out. Oh, that's like the one person I did not want to phase lock. But oh well. Very nice. Good to have splash damage against those shielded guys. Oh, he's on top of me. Yeah, very nice. Whoop. A little rusty, but we'll get going here. Very nice. Make sure he's slagged. There we go. He's stuck in the Quasar animation. Yeah, this is pretty strong. The magazine size alone is just gigantic buff. It's very strong. Can't really see him, but I don't think it matters. The Lyuda will just be our like boss killer kind of weapon for this build. Nice. Performing very nice so far. Pretty impressed. Oh, wrong weapon. Slow hand is a pretty excellent long-range shotgun. And this magazine size is absolutely ridiculous. And then life tap gives us some phenomenal survivability. With this many points, it's pretty ridiculous. A little bit overkill, I would argue, but hey, we only put a point into it. It's good value. Oh gosh, my accuracy. There we go. Alrighty. Well, we could use some ammo. Yeah, so I mean, I would definitely say this magazine size and fire rate is noticeable, like very noticeable DPS buff. The fire rate in conjunction with wreck is quite massive. We are definitely putting out damage. Oh, and I forgot to mention that the Emperor does get a buff on the UCP. So, I mean, obviously this build is still fine without using the Emperor, but that is worth noting. I totally forgot to mention that. Which is kind of nice, honestly, though, too. Like, I think it kind of needed it. It's not a very, like, massive buff. It's pretty small, but it does help. I can look at the end of the video as long as I don't forget, but I think it's just a slight little damage buff, if I remember correctly. I should have phase locked that guy. He's gonna be annoying. works. Oh, oh, oh. Yeah, I don't know who has that shock weapon, but I don't like that. Nice. Oh, not nice. Okay. Oh, whoa. Mad Mike's already out, huh? Ooh, got melted. Okay, very nice. Very nice. Oh, not very good idea. I'm stuck on that wall. But he'll die. Okay. Let's try to phase lock someone else. Oh, that was my fault. Not really gonna be a problem though. Very nice. I like the weapon combination we have with this comm. I think magazine size and fire rate is very good on all three of these weapons. I mean, it's obviously great on any weapon, but in particular, like the shotgun, like the slow hand, and Lyuta just being able to like unload both of these weapons is really good. Okay. And he's gone. Man, this comm's pretty dirty. I said at the beginning I thought this would be a bit of a, maybe like a sleeper pick or like very, very strong, and it's proving to be correct. And I've never used this comm. I just kind of thought like with what it buffed, like if this comm buffed better skills, it would actually be insane. I mean, this comm's actually still insane, even with the skills it buffs. Like, they're not the worst skills. I mean, suspension is excellent. Very, very good skill to buff. The other two are kind of just like solid. They're not bad, they're not great, they're just pretty solid. It could be worse for sure. So I think overall it's an impressive comm. But like, imagine if this thing buffed another DPS skill instead of restoration, for example. Like that's definitely a replaceable one. Don't really need that one. But nonetheless, it's not the worst. Like having some extra max health doesn't hurt. Clean that up. Nice. Owie. Nice. All of our survivability skills came in clutch there. Alright, that was actually a really quick one. Um, I feel like it usually takes me close to 15 minutes to get through here. I'm not sure. I'm not exactly timing myself, but I feel like that's generally around there. I think that was about 9 or 10 minutes, but Anyway, this is a fantastic comm. Like this is actually a very good comm and probably a bit underrated. I don't see people using this. I didn't really use it before. I just tested it myself. So yeah, this is actually really good. I'd say it's on par with some of these legendary comms and like some of her better comms in general. Like this is strong. Very, very strong. It's unfortunate that restoration is one of the skills that it buffs because I just don't think that's necessary. But life tap and suspension are excellent, and the magazine size and fire rate are also excellent. Um, Overall, I'd say this is like probably like an eight or 9 out of 10. Like it's like an A tier comm. Um, it's good. It's actually really, really good. I'm pleasantly surprised. I thought it would be solid, but it actually exceeded my expectations. This is one of the better DPS comms you can use for Maya, in my opinion. Out of everything I've tested, oh, didn't mean to do that. Out of everything I've tested, this is easily one of the best. It's very, very strong. So yeah, guys, you should definitely give it a shot on your own. I think you might like it. And thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.